Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for yet another video visitation. I'm joined today by Mary Coleman, the principal of our school, and Linda Hughes, the assistant principal of our school, two highly esteemed and competent women who will have so much more to say about school affairs in just a moment. First off, a little matter of housekeeping. Our Foundation for Inclusive Religious Education is a national program in Catholic schools that was begun in our diocese, and Visitation's participation in the FIRE Foundation is rather extensive. It's been our privilege down through the years to host several students who were part of the FIRE program, and I'll tell you, those young people bring a kind of presence and treasure to our school environment that is hard to define, but undeniable. Well, Foundation for Inclusive Religious Education is in the midst of a fundraiser, and I think that Mary Coleman, our principal, knows more about the particulars of that than I do. So Mary, can you fill the folks in?
Sure will. The Fireball, which is the auction, an event sponsored by the Fire Foundation, is coming up on October 9th. Between now and then, they're asking schools and churches to ask people to buy raffle tickets. The grand prize for the raffle is $1,996, $1996 in honor of the year the foundation began. So if you go to their website, firefoundation.org, and click on purchase raffle tickets, be sure to give Visitation the credit, but we ask you to support us in this way and the good work that all of the schools continue to do. Thanks,
Mary, very much. I've asked Linda and Mary to be here today because they're going to talk a little bit about our school situation, the condition of the community, the way the year is going so far. You know, of late there's been a kind of a bifurcation of the school community, with some people vociferously arguing for open the school, open it fully, open it now, and then other people saying, why you shouldn't even be open as much as you are, and people kind of throw up their opinions into the air with the gravity of statesmen in the time of war. Sometimes those opinions are not very well substantiated. They're almost always hard to immediately digest. They go like this. You're doing irreparable harm to our children by not opening the school. You are playing fast and loose with the help of the community by opening the school. 90% of school families want school open now. The teachers will quit if school's open now. Well, a lot of this is cut from hysterical cloth. And to bring some sense, we hope, to this matter, I present to you the principal and the assistant principal. Ladies, take it away. And then when they're finished, I'm going to come back and talk about something a little different.
So apparently you can cut. Okay, I'm going to start off by sharing a little bit about the process that we're in. As we began to look at reopening schools, Visitation, like all of the other schools in the diocese, formed a task force. And that group was given a 2-week window to digest the diocesan reopening plan, which I was a part of writing, and to make it personal to Visitation. How is it going to work in our environment? So our task force turned that plan in, and from there we moved forward into the school year. That was late July that was due. So our task force continued to meet. No, they didn't. So our task force, sorry, I lost my mind. So we began school. And we began it in a hybrid model, and by that we mean that only some of the students are there at any given time. We elected to go half in the morning and half in the afternoon. As we've told parents on another occasion, we did that because we listened to their feedback. After last spring and our sudden stay-at-home learning period, parents wanted more contact with teachers, and they felt their children were really suffering from not seeing their teachers more frequently, via Zoom or in person. So in order to maximize teacher contact, we put together a half-day model. Half the students are there in the morning and half in the afternoon. They see their teacher every day. And we feel like it's made the kids more connected to the school and to their teachers. Frankly, we have a very high attendance rate, and we have seen great support. The kids are happy. They're tolerating wearing masks quite well, which is a totally new thing for school. But what we're running into at this point is what's next in the plan? What's the next phase? Are we ready to move out of hybrid and back to full-time school? To prepare for that decision, we asked our parents to complete a survey. And we also asked our teachers to complete a survey. And while they were starting on the survey, we met with the task force again. And that was about a week and a half ago now. Our task force is made up of 4 groups. One looks at the decision from the health and wellness perspective. A second one from logistics. What are all the details that we might forget about how to do walking in the halls and having lunch and going out to recess and arriving in and dismissing classes. A third group looks at the facility, and that's the health of the facility, the physical structure, is it all what it needs to be? And the final group looks at the academic program. The committee is made up of parents and teachers. There are 37 parents and teachers involved in the process, and then Linda and myself. We've run into a situation right now where we are seeing what Monsignor mentioned, diametrically opposed visions of what this needs to look like next. What we're asking people to do is to know that we are going with the science of the infection. We are looking at what's recommended by the CDC, numbers of cases, percent of positivity rate, and then in our case, likely how many cases we have in the building, which right now we have no cases in students or staff. But we've got to take it in a measured approach to make sure that we keep everyone safe, and we're responsible for both the staff and the students.
We recently sent a survey to our school families to get a sense of what people were feeling about our current hybrid model and what steps they would like us to prioritize next. The family survey indicated that a lot of families are very interested in us pursuing looking at our distancing requirements and evaluating whether or not we are ready to bring everyone back full-time, which is what helped us bring the task force back together. We also gave a very similar survey to our faculty and staff of 55 wonderful people, and the results on the faculty side were very different. Close to 85% of our faculty and staff want to keep our current hybrid model or make changes to our hybrid model, but a very, very small number are interested in looking at bringing everyone back based on the CDC recommendations at this time.
One of the difficult things I think that some parents are asking is, can we bring the kids back with less distance? And to compare it to the number that Linda just shared with you, only 51% of our families are comfortable with less than 6 feet of distance. 6 feet is still the gold standard of care for safety that's still in the recommendations. Some schools have gone with different plans and may well have gone with less. And so let me have Linda talk to you a little bit about other schools.
We recognize that it's challenging when our friends in other Catholic school settings are attending full-person school. It is our belief that those schools are also following distancing guidelines, and we're in the process of looking and talking more closely with school principals that are looking at changing the distancing requirements. I think it's also important for us to consider very carefully that of our staff and faculty of 55, roughly 30% of those people are in at-risk categories. And so any decision that we weigh is going to really be predicated on keeping our community as safe as possible.
We've asked our parents questions like, are you comfortable sending your children to school mass? As we mentioned before, are you comfortable coming back to school at less than 6 feet? One of the other questions, and one that seems to have gotten a little bit of a mixed message out there, we asked them if we can come back full-time, or when we can come back full-time, would you send your children if we were spaced 6 feet apart? And 94% of our families say that they would send their kids back to school with 6 feet of physical distancing between them. When we reduced the distancing, our numbers dropped into the 60% range. I believe it's 65% would send them back with less than 6 feet. So we're weighing all of those health and safety guidelines, all of the concerns of families, and as Monsignor indicated, it's not easy making these kinds of decisions.
We, as Mary mentioned, our task force is meeting in small groups to look at our facility, to look at our staffing, to really look at how we can bring people back. It is our common goal that we'll all be back together. I know that our faculty and staff are working very hard in this current model, but I think their survey indicates that while their job is very hard right now, they feel that prioritizing safety and well-being is more important. This morning, I had the great opportunity to speak with a parent who is interested in enrolling her children at Visitation next year. She's really planning ahead. And the last question she asked me after we had a great long conversation was, what's your favorite part of Visitation? And I kind of knew that she knew what I was going to say because overwhelmingly teachers and parents and community members say, what's the greatest thing about Visitation is our community. And I answered that, and she said, I thought that's what you would say. But I went on to say that I think that community is one of those words that we all commonly define, unlike other words. That a community is a place where we all belong, we feel connected, and in a sense, we all recognize that we belong to one another. And as we work through this process, and please know that we are working through the process, and we're listening to your voices, please understand that we're looking at our entire community as we do so.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. These are unrehearsed questions, so let's see what they say. Mary, suppose there are people in the school community who want to see the numbers on the survey. Can they do that?
Yes, the reason we haven't released the survey yet is that the survey started 2 days before the task force met, and we are still getting results from the survey. It'll close at the end of this week, and the plan will be that we'll put the data out from both the teacher and the parent survey in that following week's newsletter for parents.
All right, great. I don't know. I guess that's all I want to ask about that for now. I just hope that our instinct as Catholic Christian people is to give each other the benefit of the doubt and be charitable in our words and in our assessments. Did you see that debate last night? I'm trying to be charitable in my assessment of that. I tried to watch it for about 15 minutes. That's all of it I could take, I'm afraid. Can you imagine Barack Obama behaving that way? Can you imagine Ronald Reagan behaving that way? Pardon me, now my telephone's going off. It just ain't my day. Anyway, I wonder where have the grown-ups gone? It's such a perplexing time to be alive. It's a perplexing time in our diocese, too. Perhaps you know the bishop sent out this letter on conscience formation and voting. I know many of you have received it in the last few days. And I've had, I guess, one message from somebody saying, man, that's the best darn letter there ever was. Needs to be a model for every bishop's letter across the country. And then I've had an awful lot of responses that are not at all like that. Some of them from people who claim that, well, that's it. I'm out of the parish. I'm out of the church. I know Bishop Johnston fairly well. I don't think that he meant to write a letter that amounts to a practical endorsement of Republican candidates over Democrat candidates. But I know that is, in fact, how many people are interpreting it. What the bishop writes about the importance of conscious formation, I doubt if there are very many of us who would take issue with that. And what he writes about the guiding principle of respecting human life, I think that few of us would argue with that either. But oh, how I wish he had done it in a way that suggests some pastoral acquaintance and sympathy with real-life complexities of respecting human life. Now, I respect the bishop. I know him to be a good man. Sometimes he does and does not do things that absolutely baffle me, but I know he means well, and I'm not trying to start a fight with him. But in the interest of trying to bring a little, maybe a tiny little bit of needed perspective to this matter, please allow me to read a very short excerpt from a letter of our Holy Father Pope Francis entitled Gaudium et Exsultate that might shine just a bit of light on the complexities of cultivating and voting an informed Christian conscience. I could comment on what I'm about to read, but I'm not going to. I think I'll just read it and shut up and let the Pope speak for himself. If any of you want to talk to me about this, well, please know my door is always open. Pope Francis writes, a harmful ideological error is found in those who suspect the social engagement of others, seeing their engagement as superficial or worldly or secular, materialist, communist, or populist, or they relativize as if there are more important matters, or the only thing that counts is one particular ethical issue or cause that they themselves defend. For instance, our defense of the innocent unborn needs to be clear, firm, and passionate, for at stake is the dignity of a human life, which is always sacred and demands love for each person, regardless of his or her stage of development. But equally sacred are the lives of the poor, those already born, the destitute, the abandoned, and the human trafficking, new forms of slavery, and every form of rejection. We cannot uphold an ideal of holiness that would ignore injustice in a world where some revel, spend with abandon, and live only for the latest consumer goods, even as others look on from afar, living their entire lives in abject poverty. I think that you have the ability to play this message over and over as much as you want to. And I would ask that if you need to, replay what I just read to you from Pope Francis's letter. And perhaps that will help broaden, shall we say, the number of tools available to us for conscience formation. Confirmation masses happen this weekend, so I don't have an opportunity to stand in front of the community and say what I just said, so I take this opportunity to do it. I'll see many of you at confirmation masses this weekend, and I'll see you next week right back here.
Survey about Mass times beginning November 1st.
Thank you. Thank you. Megan has told me that I need to inform you about another survey that's coming out. Now that summer vacation is over with, we are starting to see more people come to weekend Mass. And of course, I hope that trend continues. But if it continues, then we're going to need to add another Mass. And we want to survey you to see, when to do that. So that survey will be going out when, Megan?
It's attached to this email with this message.
She says it's attached to this message somehow. And so people will fill it out and get it back to us how?
It's online. You just click buttons and it comes back to us.
It's online, you click a button and it comes back to us. All right. Hoping that that is all I need to say for now, I say goodbye and God bless.